Oslo, the capital of Norway and one of Europe's fastest growing cities. Welcome to Oslo. It sits on the country's southern coast at the head of the Oslo fjord. And is known for its green spaces, museums, cutting-edge architecture, exceptional harbor promenade, and charming neighborhoods. When we found out that there was a new airline named Norse Atlantic Airways that was flying direct from Orlando MCO airport to Oslo OSL, we knew that it was time for a trip to Norway. Upon arrival, once through customs, which was really quick, the first thing that I found different was that there was a giant duty-free when approaching baggage claim. After a look around and grabbing our bags, we took a taxi to our Airbnb that was located right next to the Royal Palace and in the embassy area. Our Airbnb was located on the 4th floor and was a luxurious 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in an old refurbished building. Our host Andreas not only checked us in, but went above and beyond by giving us a beforehand list of restaurants, bars, and places to visit. Once settled, it was time to take a look around the city. The weather for July was a bit questionable coming from Florida. It was in the high 60s Fahrenheit, and I wasn't really sure if I was hot or cold, as well as it looked as if rain was threatening. The city center is pedestrian, and walking around, places were further than one thought, or what the GPS stated. We were getting strange things from our GPS, which made Oslo at times very difficult to navigate. It even wanted to take us routes that didn't even exist. For example, it wanted us to cross tracks of the train station down a route that wasn't even there. I actually did some investigating about it, and on Google, there were several articles about Russia jamming, the word that they used, GPS signals. I guess it's an ongoing issue there, and it doesn't only hinder tourists, but locals too, especially for emergencies. We walked down the street heading for the Aker Brygge neighborhood, which was a newer neighborhood located right on the harbor. But first, stopped at the 7-Eleven market to grab some drinks and snacks. Being American, it was funny to see a 7-Eleven, but let me tell you, such a different experience than an American 7-Eleven. They had everything from shrimp scampi in there to filet mignon. This was a real market. From there, we walked down the hill towards Aker Brygge. It was about a 15-minute walk from there. The skies may have been gray outside, but our visuals were spectacular. The architecture was modern and inviting. It was happy hour and we wanted to grab a bite, but wanted something Norwegian. We ran into a lot of burger places, Asian fusion, and Italian. Not only that, but things seemed to be closing or on strange hours. So we kept walking and continued to check out the city. From there, we headed down the famous street of Karl Johans, which goes from the central station square uphill to the Royal Palace. It's a pedestrian-only area and it's lined with shops and beautiful flowers. We headed for the food hall, Oslo Street Food. Now, I've done a separate vlog on Oslo's food halls, and I'll leave it in the description so that you can check it out. We didn't find anything that we really wanted to eat in there, so we continued walking. As we made our way near the palace, it started to rain, and not a little, a lot. And the temperature felt like it had dropped another 10 degrees. So we ducked into the Hotel Oslo restaurant. Now, I had seen that they had mussels and fries, so I was excited to have that. But of course, it was sold out. So I settled for some white asparagus with prosciutto, which was something that I knew that I couldn't get in the States. And many had the local fish. When we were finished, it was still raining, so we bought an umbrella and headed to the grocery store, which we love checking out the grocery stores in other countries, and then grabbed an Uber to head back to our Airbnb. The next day, I decided to purchase the Oslo Pass for us because it would give us free transportation, including ferry and museums. Passes could be bought for 24, 48, or 72 hour, and the cost per ticket for a 48-hour pass was 655 Norwegian krones, which was $65.50 in USD per ticket. So we're on the way today to go look at some museums. We just purchased the Oslo Pass because the Oslo Pass will give us free transportation as well as the ferry as well as the museums. So it was kind of the better way to go. So if you are coming to Oslo and looking to visit a lot of the museums, a lot of them are listed on that pass. So it may be a better financial way to go. So we'll see what we find. We headed off bright and early for a tram to take us down near the city hall for the ferry to Bygdøy Peninsula. Getting to the tram ended up being a disaster with our GPS and ended up taking 20 to 30 minutes more than intended. The weather was nice and sunny, and the ferry ride was a quick little ride across the Oslo fjord, and we were the second stop on the ferry on its journey. From there, we walked over to the Kon-Tiki Museum. Nearly 20 million people have visited the museum since it opened its doors in 1950. The museum explores Thor Heyerdahl's famous legacy and showcases the sensational Kon-Tiki expedition of 1947. And the primitive Kon-Tiki raft. The museum is free with the Oslo Pass, but without is 140 Norwegian krones, or $14 USD. After that, we walked next door to the Fram Museum. Also free with the Oslo Pass, or the same cost as the prior museum, 150 Norwegian krones, or $14 USD. The Fram Museum is a museum telling the story of Norwegian polar exploration. The museum was opened in May of 1936, and as you walk in, you are greeted by the giant Fram vessel right in front of you. From there, we took the ferry back, but this time to a different port. This time, we headed over to the port near the Opera House. After a quick bite and a drink at the outdoor eatery Salt, we headed towards the Opera House, home to the Norwegian Opera and Ballet. On the way, on the waterfront, we passed several floating saunas, and several people taking advantage of them and summer in Oslo. Some even had barbecues available on them for the renters. It was fun to see, but I wasn't sure if I was hot or cold, so I wasn't going to be partaking. So I am walking up the steep steps of the Opera House. It's actually really slippery, so I have chosen the route with the handrail so that I don't end up tumbling. But I couldn't imagine when it gets wet because it's already super slick. But it's quite the steep climb. You'll see in a second. The Opera House, situated at the head of the Oslo Fjord, was opened in 2008. With the idea that the Norwegian nature is free for everyone to walk in, so why not walk on it?
So I'm gonna let the opera building actually block the wind for me, but it's pretty interesting. I mean, when else do you get to walk up a building or walk on the roof, especially an opera house? So it's definitely pretty neat. So if you come to Oslo, you definitely gotta go ahead and walk up here.
This building is like no other. Not only do you walk on the ground, but you can walk up the building as well as walk on the roof. And it's also highly encouraged. I did the climb and it's super steep, slippery, and I saw several people trip and fall because there are little steps that blend in that people didn't see, which makes it very easy to trip. So definitely climb it, but just be careful.
The one thing you have to be careful of, there's all these little steps. I've now seen so many people almost fall, and they're really easy to miss. I mean, the patterns are a little bit different from where you step down or step up, but I've now seen so many people almost fall. I'm getting closer because I know it's really windy.
Inside the theater, we weren't able to see the actual theater, but the wooden outside of the theater is just as architecturally stunning as the exterior of the building. I had also heard that because of the building of the wood structure, that the acoustics inside the theater were amazing. So if you have the opportunity, definitely check out a show there. Next door to the Opera House was a swimming area that locals were taking advantage of. And following that was the new Munch Museum. We went inside the museum, but they wanted me to leave my purse in a locker, and I wasn't comfortable with leaving it. So we continued on our way to one of the most modern and dynamic libraries that I've ever seen. The brand new library is located on Oslo's waterfront and spanning 6 floors and 140,000 square feet. Not only does it contain a whole lot of books, but it also has a movie theater, media workshops, gaming zones, lounges, and a restaurant, among other things. It's definitely a sight to see. Across the street from there was the Barcode building, so we headed over to see Barcode Street Food. This also in my separate vlog about food halls, and again, I'll leave it in the description. Following that was another GPS debacle. Remember when I said my GPS tried to lead us through a train station route that didn't exist? So after 30 minutes to an hour of trying to find our way to the right tram to get back to our Airbnb, we ended up just taking a cab.
So we were gonna take the tram back, but we kind of went on a wild goose chase with Google Maps. So just the FYI, my Google Maps seems to be really goofy here. 3 times we've tried to take the tram and it's sent us all over the place, but what was supposed to be a 1-minute walk turned into 30, so we ended up just taking a taxi, and that's how we got ourselves back here. But a little bit of a scavenger hunt, but just glad to be back at our Airbnb. So we are out and about again after a little rest. Our tram debacle made us need to take a little rest after that. We've had enough of trams for a little bit. So we're gonna actually Uber to a food hall called Mathallen. And it's funny because it looks like it's like 4 o'clock outside, but it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock. Being so north, the sun, I don't even know if it goes down. I tried to see yesterday, but it was raining. I know when we get to the Levelton Islands, we have 24 hours of sun. I'm not so sure here though if the sun will go down, so I'm gonna kind of see tonight. But it's really pretty late right now, and it's really nice out. Nice to be in some cooler weather. So looking forward to the food hall, and yeah, just enjoying summer.
After a bit of rest, we headed back out to get some dinner, but this time in an Uber to go and check out the Mathallen Food Hall. So pretty. After a bit of rest, we headed back out to get some dinner, but this time in an Uber to go and check out the Mathallen Food Hall. But to our dismay, the food hall was basically closed when we arrived. We were kind of surprised that it closed so early, especially on a summer evening. But we again jumped into an Uber and headed back near our Airbnb to a restaurant that we had passed on the drive with a cute outside area called FYR Bistronomi and Bar, a restaurant that was Michelin star recommended.
So major fail on my part. I feel like on this trip I keep failing. So they're closed, Mathallen. So we're gonna go tomorrow, and over here there's actually a lot of other places that we wanted to try for food. But yeah, I seem to be really good at failing on this trip. So far with things being closed and my GPS not working, so I am not getting a thumbs up on this trip. But anyways, we found another place that we passed along the way that's closer to our Airbnb. So we are grabbing an Uber and we're gonna go head over there. It looks really cute. The weather's really nice. Everyone's outside enjoying things, which is why it's so surprising that things close so early here. But you know, it is what it is. So we gotta get some food though.
We had some nice drinks and the food was good as well. It also felt very local, so that was much appreciated, and I highly recommend it if you're visiting.
Good morning, or kind of good afternoon. We had a late start today just because we're trying to get things situated for the next leg of our trip, but we are going to start our day by heading over to the palace to kind of check it out, and then we're going to go get some food and head down to the town hall. So quite a few things we still want to get done, and since it's our last day here in Oslo, we got lots to do.
The next day was our last day in Oslo, and we started our day heading towards the palace since we were staying right next to it. The changing of the guards happens at 1:30 every day, and we were early, so we decided to just check out the gardens and then be on our way, since still lots to see in Oslo.
Welcome to the Royal Palace.
From there, we grabbed an Uber because we were over our GPSs, and we made our second attempt at seeing Mathallen Food Hall, as well as grabbing something to eat. This food hall is also in my vlog on food halls, so make sure that you check it out. It's in the description. But we grabbed a fish burger, and I had a delicious Boston cream donut inside. There were still some other food places that I wanted to try that were close by. So we walked past the kids' park, up the hill, past the waterfall, until we came to the espresso shop, Tim Venderbo, a world champion barista. So naturally, we had to have a cup.
So it's time for some coffee, and we are actually going to visit a coffee house where the gentleman that it's named after is an award-winning coffee maker. So it should be good.
The coffee was very different than anything I've ever had. If you're a serious coffee drinker, you will need to make sure that you make a stop here. From there, Harold's Waffle was just a short walk away, and I needed to try a Norwegian waffle with their Norwegian brown cheese called brunost, that was also served with some jam and cream.
So I am at the famous waffle place, and I am gonna have one of their waffles with brunost, their brown cheese, and cream and jam. So I'm really excited to try this.
It was quite good, and our stomachs were pretty full after that, so we headed over to the Oslo City Hall. Now, the City Hall isn't just any City Hall. It's actually the location of where the Nobel Peace Prize is given out. The building as it stands today was constructed between 1931 and 1950, with an interruption during the Second World War. The building is free to go in and have a look around.
We just came out of the City Hall. We saw where they give out the Nobel Peace Prize, which was pretty cool. This room is completely painted up, you'll see. But it was really neat to see, because obviously that's a huge honor.
When we were finished with that, it was getting a bit chilly, so I went back to our Airbnb and changed, and Manny stayed in to do some work. But I was headed over next to Vigeland Park, which is inside Frogner Park, to go and check out the sculptures. The sculpture park is Gustav Vigeland's life work, comprising over 200 sculptures in granite, bronze, and wrought iron. It was installed mainly in the period 1940 through 1949, but it's nevertheless a result of 40 years of work. The park truly demonstrates human behavior, and as you start out, it's young human behavior. But as you walk on through the park, the sculptures age along with the behavior. It's very interesting. The sculptures are magnificent, and it was great to watch people interact with the sculptures, doing exactly what the sculptures represent: human behavior. From there, I grabbed some dinner for Manny and I at the Park Cafe, because the next day was a travel day for us, and it was going to be an early morning. Oslo was a really different trip for us, and it's definitely an up-and-coming city. See you next time.